A developer just replaced the entire juggle 7 terminals ritual with a single click and accidentally built what Docker should have been for local dev. Every morning, thousands of developers open the same ritual. For terminal tabs. 7 terminal tabs. Navigate to different folders. Run npm run dev. Run cargo run. Wait. Forget which one crashed. Do it again. It's not that any single step is hard. It's that the whole thing is stupid, repetitive, and breaks constantly. And for years, everyone just accepted it. A developer who goes by TROJAN got tired of it and built Chronicle, a desktop app that does one thing: press a button, and your entire dev environment starts. All your servers. All your processes. One dashboard showing real-time output from everything. Color-coded. Auto-scrolling. No 7 tabs. No prayer. But here's what makes this interesting. Chronicle isn't built with Electron, the framework that powers Slack, Discord, Visual Studio Code, and basically every desktop app developers complain about being slow and bloated. It's built with Tauri, a Rust-based framework that does the same job but produces apps that are 96% smaller and use half the memory. The numbers are brutal. A typical Electron app ships at 120 to 200 megabytes and idles at 150 to 400 megabytes of RAM. Chronicle, built with Tauri, ships at under 10 megabytes and uses 40 to 80 megabytes at idle. That's not an incremental improvement. That's a completely different category of software. The technical reason is simple. Electron bundles an entire Chromium browser and Node.js runtime into every app. Even a Hello World Electron app carries the weight of a full web browser. Tauri, by contrast, uses the operating system's native web renderer, Edge WebView 2 on Windows, WebKit on macOS, WebKit GTK on Linux, and writes the backend in Rust. No bundled browser. No JavaScript runtime overhead. Just a thin native shell around your UI. Chronicle's core mechanism is about 50 lines of Rust. It uses Tokio, Rust's async runtime, to spawn multiple terminal processes at once. Each process streams its stout and stare line by line through Tauri's event system directly to the React frontend. The frontend renders it in real time, tabbed, with syntax highlighting. The whole thing feels instant because there's no interpreter overhead, Rust compiles to native machine code, and the OS handles the rendering. What TROJAN built isn't technically novel. Docker Compose already orchestrates multiple processes. Tmux already manages terminal sessions. Process managers like PM2 and Foreman already exist. But all of those require you to stay inside the terminal, write YAML config files, memorize commands, or deal with crashed sessions. Chronicle is a GUI. You click a button. It just works. And that difference, between technically possible and so obvious you forget it exists, is why people are paying attention. The dev.to post went up in March 2026 and resurfaced in May with a follow-up. It didn't make headlines. No TechCrunch coverage. No venture funding announcement. Just a developer solving his own problem and posting about it. But the response was immediate. Dozens of developers replying with, "I thought I was the only one doing this, and why doesn't this exist already?" Because it should have existed already. The 7-terminal problem isn't new. Every bootcamp teaches you to juggle multiple local servers. Every tutorial assumes you'll just deal with it. The tooling ecosystem offers solutions, but they're all command line tools that require you to learn another syntax, configure another file, debug another layer of abstraction. Trojan's insight was that the solution isn't better terminal tooling. It's not needing the terminal for this at all. Tauri itself has been around since 2020, but it only hit stable 2.0 in late 2024. For years, Electron had no serious competition. Developers complained about the file sizes and memory usage, but there was no alternative that offered the same ease of cross-platform deployment. Tauri changed that. And now, in 2026, the gap is visible. Electron apps feel sluggish, heavy, laggy on older machines. Tauri apps feel native. Because they are. The deeper question is why it took this long. Docker promised to standardize dev environments a decade ago. Docker Compose promised to orchestrate local services. And for production, it works. But for the daily grind of local development, most developers still just open 7 terminals and pray. Chronicle doesn't replace Docker. It replaces the part of your workflow that Docker was never designed to fix, the GUI layer that actually makes it feel seamless. What happens next is the interesting part. Chronicle is a personal project. No GitHub repository is publicly listed. No roadmap. No monetization plan. Just a developer scratching his own itch and realizing that thousands of other people had the same itch. That's how the best developer tools start, not as venture-backed platforms, but as small, sharp solutions to one annoying problem that turned out to be everyone's problem.